Hello Year 2 students, we're at lesson 32. My name's Ella and of course I'm your teacher today. So here we go. What will we need for today's lesson? Well, we're going to be measuring again, so we will need some shoes on our feet. We'll need our learning books or a piece of paper and something to write with. Okay, here we go with our warm-up number talk. And we are looking at subitizing again. Remember, subitizing is looking at a set of numbers and knowing how much that is. So being able to quickly and efficiently work out how many we have in a collection of things. And we're using dots to help us learn how to do that. So have a look at this number. How many are there? Okay, I have this number here for us in 4 different ways. We're going to have a look at 4 different ways we can subitize, and I wonder if it was the way that you did it. All right, so the first group of numbers I'm going to look at it in a horizontal way. So I'm going to have a look at how many numbers I have on the horizon in a horizontal way. So I can see that I have 2 and 3 and 3 and 2. 2, 3, 3 and 2. And I can quickly add those together. Actually, they're doubles, aren't they? Double 3, double 2. So I can quickly add that together as 6 and 4, and I can see that my answer is 10. I might have subitized in that manner. I could also have a look at it vertically, so horizontal and vertical. So I can have a quick look and go, all right, now I can see I've got a 3, a 4 and a 3. A 3, a 4 and a 3. If I pop these 2 numbers together, 4 and 3 is 7 and 7 and 3 is 10. Okay, remembering that 10 is a pretty special number. We have a base 10 system, and if I can get to 10 quickly, I can do my maths quickly as well. All right, now you might have seen it a different ways, so let's have a think about which way you might have seen it. You could have seen a group of 6 here and a group of 4 that I had left over. So I can see a nice little system of 6 and 4. 6 and 4 will make 10. Perfect. All right. And you might have thought about what was missing. You might have thought, I can see this. It could be a nice 3 by 4, but what's missing? So I could have seen something missing here, and I could have seen something missing here. Now, if that's the case, how many do I have? 3, 3, 3 and 3, or 4, 4, 4 will give me a total of 12, but I can see that 2 are missing. 2 are missing, so quickly I can get to the amount of 10. I wonder which way you did it, and I wonder if you can see a different way of doing it. So congratulations on your subitizing today. Let's launch into lesson 32. Okay, today's learning intention is we're going to measure the distance using a unit of length. So remember, length, long ways. We're going to be measuring how long we have as a distance. And we'll know we can do this when we can measure the distance between spaces in our house using our feet. Okay, now, remember I spoke about standard units of measurement. So we're going to have to think about how big our feet are. And I think you can see we've got lots of different shoes and shoe sizes here. And this is how we select our shoes, isn't it? What size shoe am I? That's the one I'm after. So we can see if we use our own shoes, we have a nice standard measurement. But I think you can see if I used Austin's shoe, we'd be in a bit of trouble. And if I used Loretta's shoe, we might also be in a bit of trouble. Can you see the difference? I can. There's a big difference. So we need to use the same shoe. Okay, so not too big, not too small, the Goldilocks shoes just right, and measure the distance in length in our house. Okay, remember top to toe, no overlap and no gap, top to toe. It's a funny way of walking actually, top to toe, but we're going to get used to doing that because we're measuring length as distance in our house. So let me tell you a story about my beautiful great Auntie Annie. All right, great Auntie Annie was coming around to our house, but she had hurt her hip. So she had said to me, how much walking would I need to do around your house if I came to visit? And that got me thinking, maybe I should draw a map and measure the distance around my house. So I decided to make a map of my house. It's kind of tricky. Here's mine. All right, let's pop it up here so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I had quite a bit of fun drawing my map, and I think you can see I did use a ruler. We'd call that a formal measurement because I can see on my ruler I've got things called centimetres and millimetres. You might know a little bit about that. We're not going to do those today. We're using, once again, informal measurements, a standard measure, which is my shoes. Okay, so I did use my ruler because it helped me do some nice straight lines for the outside of my home and for the hallway of my house, and to divide up the bedrooms, bathrooms, toilet and laundry. And I was able to put some labels on that and think about where the doorways were. So this is quite a lot of thinking and quite a lot of fun to draw a map of your house. Okay, so great Auntie Annie wanted to know how many steps around our house because she had a little fall and her hip was hurting, and we all love great Auntie Annie. So I thought I am going to walk around the home after I've drawn my map and measure how many steps, remember, toe to toe or heel to toe in this way, no gaps and no overlapping. It's quite a funny way to walk this way through my house, and I wrote some of the measurements here. I've written 3 of my measurements, and I did estimate, I did think about how many it might be. And once I had an answer, so I had a look at from the laundry to the living room, once I had an answer of about 20 steps, I started thinking about distances in length and estimate how many. So I started thinking about, well, what would the longest trip be? What would great Auntie Annie have to do if she went from the front of the house, the front door, to the back door? The longest trip I found out was 68 steps. And that's what I've written. I've drawn that in a different colour and have written 68 steps. The longest trip for great Auntie Annie. She also asked me if she was staying in bedroom 3, how many steps, maybe in the middle of the night, would she need to get to the toilet? And that would be 12 steps. I did estimate that at around 10. I did think it might be that few because I knew there was around about 68 steps all the way through. So you can see I've measured 12 steps to get to the toilet, and of course if we were in bedroom 2, how many steps would it take for me to get to the kitchen? And I worked out that I was going to get to the kitchen sink. Okay, so bedroom 2 from the door to the kitchen sink is 53 steps. I've put 3 journeys in here, 3 lengths or distances, because if I did any more, it might get a little bit complicated. And I thought that great Auntie Annie might like to see 3 of those distances. So when she comes to stay, So you know exactly what to do and how to get there and what the length or the distance is to travel to each place. Okay, so today we learnt to draw a map and we learnt to measure the distance with an informal measurement, and that is my shoes, okay? And my shoes, remember, will look a lot different to a smaller foot or a giant foot like this one. So remember, I used one set of shoes. If I did use a big foot, mathematicians, would it be more or less distance? Would I take a longer time or a shorter time to get places? I think you've got the answer. We'd have less steps, wouldn't we, if we had these big giant shoes? And if I had smaller shoes, we would have more units of measurement. That's right. So, your turn. What's your doing task? Your doing task is to measure, well, first of all, you'll have to make a map, won't you? Which is quite complicated. You might need a little bit of help with that, or you might be able to independently have a go yourself. We're going to make a map, and then we are going to walk around the house, heel to toe, and measure how many steps it takes. Because you might have a friend coming over who, like my great auntie Annie, who'd like to know what those distances are. So that's some pretty powerful mathematics going on right there. Make sure you think about what's your shortest trip. And I think we noticed today the shortest trip that we measured was 12 steps. And what's your longest trip? And today our longest trip was 68 steps. Okay, so powerful mathematicians, let's give that a go. Happy measuring, and I'll see you next time. Bye.